Am I too close to the camera? Perhaps. Perhaps I am. Am I at all prepared for this video? No. No, I'm not. Welcome back to the channel. I am here because it is officially time to discuss my favorite books of 2024. If you saw my last video, you know that it was not a great reading year for me. There was a lot of slumping happening. There was not a lot of 5 stars happening, particularly in the beginning of the year, until I discovered my obsession with romantasy. We are officially in our romantasy girl era, and I don't think it's a surprise to, well, it's not a surprise to me. It might not be a surprise to you that I would say probably half of my favorite books of the year are romantasy reads that I read in the latter half of the year. Now, could that be because I don't quite remember some things that happened in the beginning of the year? Perhaps. These are fresher on my mind. However, they are the things that I haven't stopped thinking about. These are the top 10 books that I consumed in this disappointing travesty of a year that was 2024. Before we dive in, I will just quickly tell you some of my stats from the good old Goodreads, because I'm probably not going to make a separate video. I may do a tier ranking video of every book I read in 2024 because a lot of them, most of them, I haven't discussed with you. So let me know if you would like to see that, but for now, I'll just at least tell you how we ended up, okay? In 2024, I read 86 books. 3 of those were yesterday on the 31st. We're not going to talk about it. I read 34,634 pages. My shortest book was The Hunted Heir, which was the sequel to The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. That was towards the beginning of my fantasy era. That was 242 pages. My longest book, House of Flame and Shadow, 835 pages. Not too bad. Not too bad. No 1,000-page books. That's coming in 2025. I'm like manifesting it. It's gonna happen. The average book length in 2024 was 402 pages, which is actually pretty good because I'm pretty sure I've never crossed that border of 400, but I think that has a lot to do with how much fantasy that I did end up reading this year. My most shelved book was It Ends With Us. I finally read the book that everyone was talking about forever. I finally read it. It was good. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was fine. It was good. It was a good time. It was sad. It was emotional. But it was good. I still have not watched the movie. All of this drama surrounding it is making it really, really hard for me to want to, but I will eventually. It's on Netflix now. The least shelved was one that I read yesterday, Christmas Eve Love Story. I finished that yesterday, and it was cute. But also I've discovered that as much as I love the idea of time loop romances, and I've read a few of them, particularly around Christmas time, I like the idea. It's a great idea. I love the magic of it. However, it gets very, very repetitive, and it gets very, very dull to read. So I may try and keep that in mind in the future. The next time I see something that's like, oh my God, she's living the same day over and over again, and I go, ooh, fun. Maybe remind me that, ooh, maybe not so fun. You know what I mean? My average rating was 4 stars, which is pretty on point for me because I tend to up all of my ratings on Goodreads. So if I gave it a 3.5, it's getting 4 on Goodreads. That's just how I rate. Try to be nice. The highest rated on Goodreads is The Women, which I found impressive. It has a 4.60 average rating, and I thought that was pretty impressive considering I read so many more popular books like It Ends With Us and House of Flame and Shadow, things like that. So if you would like to see, this is just a quick scroll through the books that I read in 2024. There were 86 of them. They were fine. Some of them were good. And I think that's everything. So now it's time to get in to the nitty-gritty. So we're going to go number 10 to number 1, as always. All of these books, I think, all of these books I gave 5 stars, and I didn't give a lot of 5 stars out. I gave a few, but not a lot. Definitely less than normal this year. But these books in particular stand out. I actually made sure to have a notes app going, and I added a book anytime it gave me that ooh feel of like maybe this could be a favorite of the year. I added a book to that list, and by the end of the year, I had exactly 10 of them. So here we are. I didn't have to make any difficult decisions. It was great. It was lovely. Things are working out lovely. At number 10, we have a book that you have not seen this yet, but you will. When I read this book, I specifically said, I don't think I'm getting the hype throughout most of it. Okay? I'm not getting the hype. I don't think I understand why this is as loved as it is. I'm having a hard time with the chemistry. I'm having a hard time with the male love interest. I don't buy it. I don't feel it. I don't know what is missing, but something is missing. And then I read the ending. It was the most shocked I have ever been at a book, for sure this year, in the last few years that I can remember. Let's talk about it. Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. I don't know how to explain to you how anxious, nauseous, confused, angry, impressed, surprised, thrilled, excited, kicking my feet I was at this ending. And I said in the vlog that will eventually come out, I said, I don't think I could quite give this a 5 stars because I had such a confused, mixed feeling for the first like 75% of it. So I said I was going to give it a 4.5. I think that's what I said in the vlog. Since then, I cannot stop thinking about this book. I cannot stop thinking about it. I want to read it again. I want to look for clues. I want to see how I didn't get there. It made me question everything about my mind and my brain, and am I stupid, and did I miss something that was right in my face? I can't stop thinking about it. I want the next one. I need the next one. Oh my God, do I need the next one? And so I moved it up to a 5 star, and I moved it to my top 10 books of the year. If you have any interest in romantasy as a genre, and you like a twist that will make you have to sit in silence and stare into the abyss for hours, pick her up. Pick her up. I don't even know how to put into words what this book has done to me, but it has done something that very few books can do, where I literally have it in the front of my brain. It is taking up space. It is not even renting anymore. It's not a timeshare. It has full on gone into escrow in my brain, and I can't get enough. I need the next book. I don't know when it's coming. Rachel Schneider, what are you doing? I need it. I need it, and I need it now. Also, the cover is stunning, okay? This is fantasy. It is like reluctant allies trope, I would say. Not necessarily enemies, but like reluctant allies. There is a lot of traveling happening in this book. I think this is very much a setup book. And I think that was what I was struggling with. But I think that it is setting something up that is going to be absolutely mind-blowingly epic. I don't know how many books are planned, how long the series is going to be, but I have a really, really good feeling that this is going to be a 5-star series. In the number 9 slot, we have a bit of a surprise to me, myself, because it is a historical fiction. Who is she? We don't know. Now here's the thing, I have no idea where this book is. Like, no idea. I have no idea where it is. I think maybe my mom has it. I can't find it. I can't find it. I don't know where she is. I have misplaced her, and I feel awful about it. But number 9 is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I have read many Kristen Hanna. Well, I shouldn't say many. I've read 4 Kristen Hanna, and they've all impressed me, and they've all sort of defied my expectations of how I'm going to feel about historical fiction. I tend to steer clear of it, but something about the way she writes these stories, these characters, feels so realistic. It feels like you're watching real people, part of your family, friends, go through these things. You're learning about the time periods, things that you thought you knew are being turned on their heads. The Women takes place during the Vietnam War, and it follows a nurse who is sent there during the war. And then the fallout of that, of dealing with being a woman in the war, being a female veteran when she comes home, and how they're looked at versus the male veterans. It was a beautiful story. It was impactful. It was emotional. I cried. I cry at all of her books. And I think it just deserves a place on my top 10. I just feel like of all the books that I've read this year, this one is one that I will think back on fondly, that I will potentially reread, that I will recommend over and over and over again to others. Let's see, what's next? What's next? Oh yes, oh yes. Number 8. In the number 8 slot, we have yet another romantasy. This is a sequel. This is one that did not hit for everyone, but it did work for me. You might be thinking Iron Flame. You might be thinking House of Flame and Shadow. No. It is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the sequel to Powerless. I read Powerless toward the end of last year. I can't remember if I included it on my favorite books, but I remember thinking, this is pretty good. And then I reread it this year, which I never do, but I just really wanted to reread it. I wanted to remember. And I think I bumped it up in rating by rereading it to a 5-star, and then this came out. And I had high expectations, but at the same time, I was so nervous. And I saw some negative reviews. I saw some people saying it was a filler book, and that's fine. I am totally on board for a filler book when necessary. I get it. It's necessary in these big fantasy plots. So I went into this with some trepidation, but this, even though this didn't work for everyone, by George, it worked for me. Oh my Jesus. This had the perfect amount of angst. I can't get enough of Kai Azar. I cannot. He is the perfect male love interest hero. He is just bantery, witty, cocky, silly, but at the same time, he is so focused on not only protecting our female main character, but lifting her up, propping her up, giving her the tools that she needs, and standing out of her way when she needs him to be out of her way for her to do what she needs to do. He looks at her like an equal. He looks at her like almost above him, and he just is obsessed with her, and I'm obsessed with his obsession for her. They should not love each other. They're not supposed to love each other. In this book, they spend the entire majority of the book at odds because they have this intense attraction, but they are on opposite sides of this thing. And yet there is so much delicious angst. There is every trope under the sun in this book. Lauren Roberts is famous for saying she took every trope that she loves in books and put them all into her story, because she figured if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And she damn near did it perfectly. I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I cannot with the ending. I can't. I have so many theories. I have so many questions, so many predictions. I cannot wait to get my hands on the 4th book. I think it comes out in March, so it's not that far away, March or April, somewhere in there. And oh my God, I think it's the final one too. So I don't even know where this is going, what's going to happen. But let me tell you, when it comes out, I will be binging it the day it releases. I said what I said. Similarly, another book that I will be binging the sequel the minute it comes out, Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. I went into this one a little bit nervous because it is young adult, and also this was earlier in the year. This was definitely before I was on my romantasy journey, but I love the idea of a witch and a witch hunter, and so I thought could be fun. It gave me Serpent and Doves vibes, which I loved. Still haven't finished that series. We're not going to talk about that today. That's not what we're here to talk about. This gave me that feeling going into it. And then I read it, and oh my God, the angst, the lust, this is like a sexy little book for a young adult book. Like, it doesn't get graphic, but it is definitely more leaning adult than young adult, in my opinion. And I ate it up. And not only that, but I have heard nonstop amazing things about the sequel, Rebel Witch. It comes out in a couple of months, maybe even February. I think it comes out very soon. There are several people who have gotten their hands on it already that are absolutely obsessed. They're like, if you thought this was good, wait until you read that book. And again, the ending, I need to know what's going to happen. I need more. It broke me to see the way these characters ended, and I have to know what is coming next. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. We have been filming for 21 minutes and we've only talked about 4 books. Not great. Not great at all. Number 6 is a bit of a guilty pleasure, if you will. I actually was shocked when I realized that I read this book this year because it feels like a lifetime ago, but this book, when I read it, I literally said this is going on my favorite books of the year, and that has not changed. It is a guilty pleasure, for sure, but I have no regrets. I have no regrets. I will not apologize, and I will not be taking any questions at this time. Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This book is a dark romance, I suppose you could say, although I still have a hard time with the term dark romance and actually utilizing it properly. But I believe it's a dark romance between 2 serial killers, I suppose, and they meet in unexpected events and decide to start playing a game, a little competition with each other to once a year have the same target and try to murder that person before the other. It sounds crazier than it is. Or maybe not. Maybe it sounds exactly like what it is, I'll be honest with you. But these characters were such a delight. I will tell you exactly what leveled this up for me. It was when I turned on the audiobook. I read the first half, I'd say, physically, and then I was told to check out the audiobook. And I know exactly why. It was done so well. The male love interest is Irish, and his voice, his narrator, was perfect. And I love when books do this, but when the female narrator is on her chapter, it's her point of view. If the male love interest is speaking, he narrates that part. So it feels more realistic. It feels like almost like a graphic audiobook. It's like this close to being that. And this was done so well to the point where I felt like inappropriate at times reading it because it was like a little too real, a little too on the nose. But these characters were so wonderful together. I am absolutely obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with the writing. It was so much fun. And there's like the little mystery plot on the side, the little like what's gonna happen, twisty stuff happening. I'm a sucker for a rom-com. I love a sweet sort of no major stakes rom-com just as much as The Next Girl, but I think there's something really to be said for when there's a second level to a romance, whether it's fantasy or thriller aspects or some kind of twist. I think there is something to be said for something that like it does elevate it just a little bit. It gives you a little more of a reason to keep reading, other than to find out what happens between the 2 main characters. And this did that for me. I did read the second book in this series, which follows the brother, so another Irish lad, Leather and Lark. Didn't quite hit the same way. I don't know if it was because it felt familiar and this was such a new and fresh story, whereas that felt like I already knew what to expect, so it didn't give me that same surprise feeling. But it didn't hit the same way. It could be the characters too. I don't know. The audiobook, again, was wonderful. I am looking forward to the third one, Scythe and Sparrow, I believe, which is following another brother. But overall, I just think these are so fun. I recommend them to anyone that likes murder, serial killers, thrillers, and also some spice. It's good. It's grand, as they would say in Ireland. It's grand. Number 5. Most people probably put this on their list last year, but I'm behind. I'm really taking my time with this series, like really taking my time to the point where I only read 2 books out of the series this year and then never again. That's gonna change soon, I swear. But number 5 is Daisy Haites by Jessa Hastings. am so happy to say that this was a 5-star read because I'm obsessed with this cover. I actually have it facing out on my shelves. It is just, it gives me everything I need. The Italian, the guns, the flowers, it's stunning. The Converse, it's such a beautiful cover. Before I even started this series, Magnolia Parks, that universe, this was my favorite cover, and I was like, I really hope I love it. I really hope I love it. And I will say, when I first started, I was struggling. The way this series works, it follows Magnolia and BJ for the Magnolia books, and then we get the Daisy Haites books in between each Magnolia book, and these follow Daisy and her circle, her inner circle, but it's during the same exact events as what transpired in the Magnolia book. So it felt a little repetitive to me when I first started I was like, I've already seen this scene from another angle. Do I really need to see it again? But these characters, they grew on me so fast, so quickly. They became my entire personality for like a month. Like, I could not stop thinking about them. Julian, I would sell my entire book collection for that man. He is everything. I love him. I can't explain it. He doesn't get enough page time, in my opinion, so I can't explain why he is my person in this series, but he is. He is. He sure is. And I love Daisy. I love Daisy, and I love Christian, and I love their whole inner circle, inner friend group, operation, family, all of it. I felt like there were way, way more stakes in the Daisy book than I did in any of the Magnolia books, like way higher stakes. It was like, again, there was another level to the plot other than it just being a will they, won't they romance situation and a character study. And I cannot speak highly enough of Jessa Hastings' writing. I think it's so beautiful. These are some of the first books I have ever read where I truly, truly thought I should be tabbing. And I don't tab. I've never tabbed. I want to tab. I think about tabbing, but I've never had the instinct to, oh my God, I need to underline this or I need to put a tab here. These books make me feel that way all the time. They are just so well written and so unique. You can't even put your finger on it. You can't even explain it. I'm absolutely obsessed. I have not picked up Daisy Haites The Great Undoing, which is the second Daisy Haites book, nor have I picked up Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. Those are on my TBR very, very soon because I need to get back into the series. I can't believe that I haven't read them in months, but I think I'm also afraid because I really do want to take my time with the series. I don't want it to end. I don't know when we're getting another one. If we're getting another one, I think Magnolia, that portion is done. I don't know what's going on, and I'm nervous and I'm scared and I don't want to say goodbye. So I've been dragging my feet, but I do need to get into those. This was it was such a delightful surprise after loving Magnolia so much and thinking I was going to struggle with this. I was so pleased that this almost totally overshadowed that story for me. Not to say I don't love them too. Magnolia and BJ, ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh my God, the toxicity. Oh my God, the love. Oh my God, the angst. But these are number 4. This is where it starts to get really tricky to like order them. Like I really did have a little bit of a hard time between my 4th, 3rd, and 2nd slot. There was a little bit of maneuvering I had to rearrange. This is shocking for me. My number 4 slot is the only slot that is mystery, horror, thriller feel. I have always prioritized mystery, thriller, horror. Those have always been, they're like popcorn. They're quick to get through. They keep you interested, keep the pages turning. They've always been a huge majority of my reading. I mean, if not 50-50 with romance, like 64. I mean, it's always been thriller, horror has been a big chunk of my reading. And for some reason this year, I pulled away a little bit. I don't know if it was just I wasn't super interested in what was coming out or they all started to sound the same. And I think that tends to happen when you are so immersed in a genre for so long. You just kind of feel like there's only so many ideas in the world and they start to feel very similar and very stale. I mean, I did read a good majority of thrillers this year, but none of them really stood out to me. None of the horror really stood out to me. some of my favorite books of last year were horror, and I didn't feel that way about really much of anything this year in those genres, which is incredibly disappointing. And I don't know if that means I need to sort of put that on a back burner for a little while until I'm craving it again. Maybe I need to like dive headfirst and find some new recommendations, new authors, new things to look at within those genres, but something needs to change, I think, in 2025. That is a long-winded way to say this is the only one in that genre, but it very rightly deserves a spot on my top list. In fact, it could even potentially have a higher spot. I struggled to order these three. This is We Used to Live Here. I saw everyone reading this book and loving it and raving about it, and I was like, all right, I guess. It is about, the tagline says, Get Out meets Parasite. I mean, right there. That's all you really should need to know. There is a couple who are living in this house and they have just moved in. They're planning on flipping it. And this man and his family knock on the door and say that they used to live there. And can they take a peek around? I have actually done that in the past with my family. I've gone to childhood homes and seen the house and said, oh, this was my bedroom, and you know, is the nail polish spill still in the closet where I used to sit and do my nail polish, like things like that. So on the surface, it doesn't seem crazy, but it gets crazy. It gets actually crazy. This gave me such an unsettled feeling, like so uncomfortable, and that's what horror is supposed to do. Horror is supposed to make your skin crawl, I think, and this did that for me in a way that nothing else really did this year. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I couldn't understand what was going on. I felt so incredibly uneasy the entire time I read this, and I think I read this within like a 24-hour period because I could not put it down. I recommend this so highly to anyone who likes horror, who wants to feel a little bit, read this. Read it and love it. I want to read it again, actually. I will say. I do want to read it again. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And it was so scary and okay. Moving on. Number 3, she has held a spot on many top lists for me, and here she is again, and rightfully so. Miss Elsie Silver, Wild Love. This book, I vlogged reading this book. You have not seen that because I never put it out. Maybe I will one day. But this book, it did things to me that I am not proud of. I was 100,000% obsessed with Ford Grant. Listen, I'm not a billionaire romance kind of girl, so I had fear. I had fear going in. Ford Grant, he's a billionaire. I don't know. But oh my dear God, this man, the things that he does, the words that he says, the man that he is, he melted my heart. He melted my cold black heart, and I'm obsessed. Elsie Silver puts crack in her books. I swear to God she does. I swear she does. They are probably some of the more smutty books that I ever read. Like, I'm not a huge, but there's something about her books that I don't mind when it gets a little bit, And single dads. That's where this series has been heading. Single dads. And oh my God, it's unlocked something in me. It has, I always knew that idea of that would be appealing in theory, but the way she writes these single dads, ooh. I also read Wild Eyes. Wild Side, I think, is the 3rd book that's coming out soon. I also read Wild Eyes. And that one, I also very much enjoyed the single dad trope of it all. He was a little bit too golden retriever for me in comparison to Ford Grant, and that's why this one ended up in the top list and that one didn't. But they're both A+ excellent, and I cannot wait to see the next book and the next couple, and I will pick up anything Elsie Silver writes forever and ever. Amen. I am just such a sucker for her books, and I would not be surprised if her books end up on a favorite list every single year because they just make me feel feelings that I don't like to feel, but when I feel them, I feel happy, then giddy and excited that I'm feeling them. And that's all there is to it. In my number 2 slot, this was a hard one because I honestly think that We Used to Live Here could have been my number 2. I also think Wild Love could have been my number 2. I went with this one just because I have a feeling that this series is going to have a big part in my life. That sounds ominous, but it's the very beginning of the series and I just got feelings that made me think, ooh, I like where we're going. I am intrigued and I just... Without further ado, A Touch of Golden Madness by K.L. DeVore. This book blew me away. I read this book faster than I've read anything in a long time. I'm so happy about this trajectory of my reading this year, about where I've ended up in this like KU romantasy, reading things before they're traditionally published, reading things that people are screaming about that I didn't even know existed, and now I do, and I'm so grateful for it because this is the kind of gold that you find. Get it? This is the kind of gold you find when you go off the beaten path, when you go veer a little bit off the beaten path and into the unknown, you find things like this. This is a post-apocalyptic enemies, reluctant allies to lovers. There are 2 different types of magic in this world, there's elementals and something else. There's 2 different factions. It's set in Atlanta, but it's this like post-apocalyptic Atlanta, where basically this big event transpired between the elementals and the kinetics that sort of destroyed the world as we know it, and all the humans went underground, and now these people with powers, these gods, whatever they are, sort of live above ground and rule everything, and then the humans are kind of hidden below, and there's these 2 factions and they don't like each other, and there's all this like angst, and there's serious traumatic backstories for our main characters, like really dark shit that they went through, which I very much enjoyed reading about because I'm a little bit broken. I couldn't get enough, and the way this book ended, again, I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I cannot wait to see what happens next. So she is also writing a prequel series within this world that's set 10 years before this. So it's before the big event that caused this apocalyptic situation. The first book is already out, so I own it. I have not started it yet, but it is very high on the TBR. But I loved this. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Did we have a angle shift? Perhaps. My camera timed out. I always forget that I only get 20 minutes or whatever before it's like, nope, see ya. And then I turned it back on and the battery was dead. So where was I? I think I was talking about A Touch of Golden Madness. I feel like I said it all. Did I say it all? It was really good. I kind of am obsessed and I kind of can't wait to see where it goes. And I kind of feel like this is going to be like a really epic series overall. And I highly recommend it to anyone that might be interested in that kind of a story. If you like, you know, traumatic pasts and overcoming that, and enemies to lovers, and really cool magic systems, and reluctant allies, and check the trigger warnings, but, you know, childhood trauma, any of the above, and a little bit of a twisty tie situation at the end, not a little bit, a lot of a twist, then you should check it out because it was really good, and the writing was really good, and it was all really good, and I loved it. And now, the moment I have been waiting for, let's talk about my favorite book of the year. I've already spoiled this for you in my last video, so it should come as no surprise to anyone that my number 1 favorite book of the year of 2024, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This book has me in a freaking chokehold. I have not felt this way about anything I've read in years. Honestly, years. I feel like the last time I felt this way was the very first time I read like the Throne of Glass series. But even that, I don't think I felt the same spark. Listen, this book is so bingeable, so much fun, so much angst, so much interesting plot and world and magic and alchemy. Very reminiscent, because it's got like metals and stuff, so very reminiscent to me of like Mistborn even. So interesting, and there's so much more to it that we have barely scratched the surface in this book. There are so many cool creatures. The character building was excellent. I feel like I really, truly, truly know everyone that was mentioned in this book, like to their core. I think the side characters get their own attention that they rightfully deserve. Carrion. I think that the writing, while cheesy at times, it was the perfect angsty language that makes you just kick your feet and scream and squeal and want so much more. I was swooning from the moment that the hero entered the story. Like from day one, from the very, very beginning, I was swooning. I was swooning. Oh my God. Oh my God. This man, I don't know what it is about people, characters like this that does it for me. He hates himself. And I love it. I don't know what's wrong with me when I say that, because that sounds horrible, but like he is so self-deprecating and negative, and he doesn't think he's good enough for our female main character, and like tries to push her away, and there's all these things he's dealing with internally and magically, and things he's done in his past that he thinks are unforgivable. He just is such a broody, angsty, dark shadow daddy dude. Like he's morally he's all the things you would want and more. I have a bit of a hard time with the name Kingfisher. I mean, come on, Kingfisher, but it fits. Honestly, by the end of the book, I was like, yeah, Kingfisher. Yeah, definitely Kingfisher. The world itself feels very fresh. It feels very unique. It's not like something you've never ever seen before, where you feel completely lost and thrown in and you really have to pay attention to world building, because I think that anyone can understand what's going on. And there are even parts that I don't think anyone is meant to understand yet, because this is just the first book in the series. But I think it still has some familiarity that will make people feel comfortable getting into this. But at the same time, it has a uniqueness to it where you don't feel like it's just a carbon copy of every other thing that you've read in the last 5 years from fantasy authors. You know, like it doesn't feel like it's like all the fairies are exactly the same as every other fairy book, and all of the magic is exactly the same as every other magic book. It's got its own thing going on. There's so many elements to it. Like I said, I think we're just scratching the surface. I feel like there's so much more to be discovered. I would literally sell, I already said my entire book collection. I would sell my soul if I still have one. I would sell it for the next book. I believe it has officially gotten a pub date in November of this year, so 11 months from now. I don't know what I'm going to do till then, other than probably reread this and listen to the audiobook, because the narrator of Kingfisher, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I ordered this from Waterstones across the pond to get this cover because I'm not obsessed. I am just, and it's a stunning, stunning book. Here's the cover you may be used to. There's our man, myth, and legend himself, Kingfisher. I honestly think, and I'm saying this with my full chest, mainly because I saw Kayla from Books and Lala read this and actually really, really enjoy it. I honestly think anyone who picks this up will love it. I really do. I really do think that this is a book that could be for anyone. I won't shut up about it for the next foreseeable future, so I apologize ahead of time, but that's what a favorite book should be. It should be something that just like becomes your personality. That's it, y'all. That is a wrap on 2024. We did it. It's over. I hope you had a better reading year than I did. And if not, it's a new year now. New year, new me. And we all have new goals, new exciting books to read, new exciting releases to look forward to, new exciting things to see and do and read and absorb, and stories to consume. It's going to be great. It's going to be really, really, really good. I feel it. I feel like 2025 is our year. I do. I really do. It's our year, guys. Let me know what your favorite book of the year is. Actually, please do that, because I would love to read some of them, potentially full video, potentially, maybe, potentially. So please let me know your favorite books of the year in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was fun. Was it fun for you? Because it was fun for me. And now I get to go start my first book of 2025. I'll give you one guess what genre she's from. Anyway, I love y'all. Happy New Year. Here's to a solid reading year for us all. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video very soon. Hopefully. Bye. I read 3,000. Nope. I read 35. Nope. Numbers are hard. Heartless Hunter. Hunter? If you saw my last video, you know this was not a great reading. Follows Magnolia and twisty chairs are not always all they're cracked up to be. You know what I mean? By Marcus Kleiwer? Kleiwer. I should have looked that up before I started filming. Oh my god, I'm getting closer and I'm turning. I don't know what's happening. Fuck. It's my wicked dress. Can you tell? Number second spot? Oh my god. Jesus fucking Christ. Elementals and... Oh, for the love of Pearl. Alright. And I will always love you. You're lost and you're thrown into something unknown, but it's also unique in that it's like... I didn't want to be doing this. Why do things, in theory, always sound like they're gonna take like 5 minutes? And in practice, they take like 45 minutes. I mean, who has the time? This is why I don't have the time. Okay, I'm actually gonna scream if I can't come up with it. Kinetics. Elementals and kinetics, I believe. Is that right? But it also... Really? It's the drones, don't worry. And I will see you soon for another video. Nope. BJ, my god. And I will see you what the fuck?